I'm Martin and welcome to a great edition of Astronomy for Beginners, and today I'm going to do a video guide on how to capture Perseids Meteor showers. Now, over the past few days, what's happening on this month, in August, is there's a very active period, and basically what's happening is there's a comet that's passing over the Earth, and with obviously the dust trails from that comet that's now disappeared, it's creating a lot of these meteor showers. Now, at the moment, these are located from the constellations of Perseus and Cassiopeia, and in between there's been quite a lot of activity of the meteors coming from those positions. It's usually situated between 50 to 60 degrees, depending on where you are on the location you are on Earth, but this is based in the UK, and between that point in the northeast is where most of the activity is happening at the moment. Obviously tonight is Wednesday the 12th, and there's going to be a lot more activity at that period. Wednesdays is usually the busiest time because you could probably expect to see about 50 to 60 of these meteor showers coming by within an hour or so. It's a fantastic experience and view to see these meteors passing through our night sky. Now, you can enjoy the views as easy as anything. Between 11 o'clock to about 2 o'clock in the morning in the UK time, you can see these outstanding meteors passing through, and you can just sit there, get yourself a deck chair or a lounge bed and set it up and just look at the sky. Just look at the sky and just absorb the experience, because it's absolutely magical. I was amazed on how much I've seen last night, and this was Tuesday to the following Wednesday morning, early hours in the morning. Such a spectacular sight, and you can enjoy the views from that, just sitting down and watching. Right, just gaze up, have a look. The amount of things you see up there is unreal. However, for most of us to capture our memories, our visions of what we just seen, you can't beat a camera. I suggest that you do get yourself a DSLR camera like this one. It does not have to be an expensive camera. You do not need a professional DSLR. You can do a quick point and shoot. As long as if you've got a tripod to mount the camera on there, and basically you just aim the camera upwards about 50 to 60 degrees to a fixed point in the sky, ideally between Perseus and Cassiopeia, or what's happening from yesterday. I had a lot of activity between 11 to about midnight. I was looking at Aquila and Lyra constellations, and between those points there was a lot of activity at that point as well with all the meteors. And you basically just click on there and click and shoot. Now, the problem with a lot of point and shoot cameras is that they only have a certain set exposure and they don't grasp in enough light. So if you manage to do get a glimpse, maybe you could get a glimpse from there. You could try an iPhone or a mobile phone. If it's got a really good decent camera and you can set the exposures, maybe you could get them through that. But it's not ideal. You need to do timed exposures, and the DSLR will win big for this. So if you want the wow factor and you want the ultimate images you can possibly achieve with a dedicated DSLR, is going to be the only choice, I'm afraid. Now, you do not need a telescope for this, or anything to that matter, or any other optical devices. All you need is just a basic DSLR camera with a basic lens system, and as long as it's mounted, that's fine. But what we'll do is that we will take a closer look at the camera what parts you need, what things you also need required to use it, and a few hints and tips on setting up the camera's settings so that once you're ready to go, you're going to take some amazing pictures. Now, the Meteor shower lasts from the 10th all the way up to the 25th of August. So there's still plenty of time to get these awesome images. And again, all you've got to do is look up in the sky at midnight, and I'll guarantee you'll see something. I guarantee it. As long as if your skies and your sky conditions and the weather's good, you're going to see something. Definitely going to see something. And it's such a magical moment to share. And again, depending on the weather, depending on where you are, you're going to get a really good view. Alright, just make sure that you're in a good area, away from light pollution. Guaranteed you're going to get some awesome views. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a closer look at the camera. So we're going to take a closer look of a DSLR camera. Now the good thing about taking these Perseids Meteors is you do not require an expensive DSLR camera. Right, and this is an entry-level camera. This is the EOS Canon 1100D. It's a very good basic DSLR camera. So you do not need an expensive camera to take great pictures of the Perseids Meteors. Alright, so as long as if you've got a decent wide angle, which is the standard issue lens, which is the 18mm to 55mm lens, okay, that's all you need. Okay, as long as if the camera can take from autofocus to manual focus with the lens system that allow you to do that, that is completely fine. And that's the sort of lens system you're looking for. You need a wide f3.5 to about 5.5 lens system, alright, and the standard issue is all you need, okay, for taking excellent images of the meteors. You can get them second hand. You don't need to buy an expensive DSLR camera. This cost me around about £120 and it's ideal size. Alright, and as you see, basic DSLR camera. Alright, that's all you need. As long as if you've got an attachment for a 1/4 inch thread to attach your camera tripod. If not, you might need to buy a dovetail plate that has the 1/4 inch thread to fit on certain tripod mounts. So make sure you have something that will fit their camera onto the tripod. The next one is get yourself a quick release, or also known as a bulb, quick release shutter switch or remote switch. Now this remote switch, basically check with your retailers. Make sure you check with the brand and model of your camera. This one is the Canon RS60 -E3 switch, and this fits the 1100D. And basically you pop the side on the side, and there's like a little jack plug socket here where you can just connect the remote bulb or remote switch. Here, what that's allowing you to do is able to attach to the camera without you touching the camera's shutter speed on the switch here, so you don't touch the camera body or the tripod. And this remote switch will enable you to take pictures without touching the camera. Very important, and definitely a #1 priority accessory if you want to take wide field shots. Again, with this wire, if you're going to mount it on a tripod, I will weave the cable around the mount or tripod so that it has less chance of having this swinging against the wind, because the wind might play havoc onto your images. So you don't want anything dangling across. Also, as I pointed out, I have taken the straps off my DSLR camera, Again, I do not want to increase the chances of vibrations and all that and the wing catching the strap. Take them off, it takes a couple of seconds and you're going to guarantee some fantastic images. Again, the remote switch costs around about £8 to £20 at the most. I've got this for about £9 second hand shop, and basically it is actually brand new. And the good thing about this switch, it has a lock-on function where if you press it, you lock it in place, and you see it's highlighted red. Basically, that will operate the shutter autopilot mode, and you don't need to bother around messing about with the camera and all that. So it's got a very nice little feature. So, and then if you want to switch it off, it will unclip itself, and there you go, it's back to manual. When you're taking pictures, I'm going to show you the settings that you need. Okay, basically make sure that your settings is set to manual focus. Make sure that your lens has the MF, and then you got AF. Switch it off to AF to then switch it on to MF. Okay, you take out your lens cap and then mount it on the tripod. The next step is you switch her on. You then set your settings. Now, first off, it's on landscape setting. You do not want that setting. Basically, you want to set it to manual mode, and indicated here is manual mode. Okay, you're on manual mode. If you look at the screen, now top tip, another tip I've just recognised, because of this camera, the viewfinder being so close to the actual viewfinder here, this is too bright. This is so bright that it interferes when you're looking through the camera's viewfinder, and you just can't see because this is in the way. So to adjust the brightness, we press menu, and we go through, scroll through all your settings until you get to a setting that says LCD brightness. You press the set button. You then minimize the settings, and basically you lower it down to the lowest setting. Okay, and that will help to enable you to see through the viewfinder. Okay, so put it down there. So I'm going to set it up to my my certain level brightness, and I click on and I press set to confirm. That's now set my viewfinder. Okay, so we skip out of that by pressing menu here, and basically it goes back to the manual screen. So the settings then, with the manual, we want to set our exposure times. So indicating, using the toggle switch here, we scroll across and we move it so that we scroll down, and as soon as you get to this point here, you get to this point here which says 1, and you've got the two little dots here at the side, that indicates seconds. So you then scroll it down to 30 seconds. 30 seconds, there you go. Now, because of the camera, it's between f3.5 to 5.5, this camera lens. I've set mine to a focal ratio of 4.0. Okay, that will give me a wide field of view with decent amounts of exposure. Now, have you noticed with the ISO, it's set to auto. We press on the ISO button, gives us a menu, and it's on auto setting, and we flick through and scroll down till we get between 1600 to 3200. Now, this is very important settings. Now, a lot of the astronomy forums and a lot of the info advice is they always recommend to use the highest ISO speed setting available. Now, I've noticed now, as I was observing the night sky and I checked my images, and I found that 1600 and 3200 ISO speed seconds is the most ideal settings for this camera. Now, it just depends on which camera you use, but I notice if you use the highest setting,
depending on where you live, depending how bad your light pollution is, depending on several factors, also depending on the camera. If you put it on the highest setting, you're going to introduce more noise in the camera. You know, there's different aspects and problems, but I found that 1600 and 3200 is the ideal choices for the ISO speed. Some cameras are better than others at certain ISO speeds because they introduce less noise, but I found for this camera 3200 in good clear skies is good for this camera. And also, one thing to make you aware of is higher the ISO speed means that you might need to lower your exposure times. So if I was going to select 6400, I wouldn't have it on 30 seconds, because if I had it on 30 seconds, it means I'm going to whitewash the entire image and it'll just look, yeah. So you want to set a nice easy setting with a decent amount of exposure so that you can see the wide field of the stars within the Milky Way. Okay, so 1600 to 3200 is an ideal size. If I was going to select 6400, then I need to lower my exposure times to 20 seconds on this camera. So I'm going to select 3200 because that's the setting that I used to get my images from last night. So there you go. There are the settings that you need for your camera. Once the camera is on the tripod, I will do a dry run. I will basically make sure I take a series of pictures using the remote attached. So basically I mount this camera on my tripod, pointing at 50 to 60 degrees between Cassiopeia and Perseids constellation. Or you can do it, from my experiences, I had it from Antilla to Lyra constellations, because there was a bit of activity there, and from between those constellations it was an ideal opportunity. But a lot of the astronomy, like Sky at Night, they recommend between Perseids and Cassiopeia at 50 to 60 degrees of northeast position of the sky, and have the camera mounted on the tripod. What I would do then, as soon as it gets dark, I will first focus, set it to the infinity, take the lens cap off, and what I do is I will set an exposure rating. Okay, I will then focus on a star. I take a picture, and if it's blurred, I then readjust the camera by setting to AF first, and then press my switch, see if it adjusts. If it doesn't, then just do a manual focus. Alright, focus the image. As soon as you've done a manual focus, you take another shot for the camera. Alright, once the stars appear pinpoint, that is you focus. Alright, and then once that's done, another top tip that I found is that once you're taking pictures, you do not want to be positioned in a way to be on the camera setup and disrupting it. Even just holding this remote might affect the vibrations on the camera and all that. So you want to minimize a lot less vibrations. And another top tip is if you click on this button here, which is like a timer button here, it puts you onto the drive mode, and basically you scroll through different settings. Now you don't want it to be having single shooting, because then that means you having to press the button every time the camera takes a picture. So as soon as it switches off, you've got to take the picture. So at a good setting, continuous mode, and you press select. Basically now what that's going to do is, as soon as you press that remote switch, in other words, I flick it on there and I've locked the switch, it is now taking a picture. And as you can tell from the audible click, it is now taking that picture. It's now started another one. And basically what I'll do is that I'll keep going and keep taking pictures. And basically what that's doing is helping you stop touching the camera setup, causing vibrations and all that, and you don't want to disrupt it. So basically that's going to keep doing it and keep doing it until the battery's dead on the camera or you run out of memory card space. So we're going to switch her off anyway. That is still taking a picture, and again it's clicked. The good thing is, the bad thing about this setup is that as it's taking exposures, it does not show you the image on the LCD screen. So that's a problem about that setup. You can't see it. So what I do is occasionally is maybe you could switch off the continuous mode, alright, and just take a single shot. So take a single shot using just press that once, takes a single shot. The continuous mode only works as soon as you lock this remote. As soon as you lock it, it will go on continuous mode and works that way. So just a nice little top tip to remember. Another top tip is if you're taking long exposures, make sure you have no flash. In other words, your flash is switched off. Alright, very important, you do not need the flash for this manual. Now a lot of cameras are already set in manual which does not activate the flash. On this camera it does not activate the flash. But if your camera has the flash mode, you might need to switch that off. Otherwise, as well as ruin your pictures, but also you're going to have a lot of angry fellow astronomers going over there and giving you a black eye. So please switch off the flash at all times, because you don't want to upset someone, believe me. Okay, because yeah. Anyway, so those are the settings that I recommend, that I use. All right, and it worked for me. Okay, I'm not going to guarantee it's going to work for every single camera, because every single camera is different. Now this is just the general run for the 1000Ds, the 1100s, the 1200s, maybe the 600Ds at a push. So basically it's aimed at entry level to medium level cameras. Unfortunately I don't have a Nikon camera to demonstrate, but this is just purely for Canon. My apologies to all your camera experts out there. I don't want to upset you. Okay, I'm not a camera expert. Okay, I went for Canon purely because the astrophotography support for these cameras are generally quite good. So my apologies if I am a Canon user. Alright, for all your Nikon guys out there, please don't beat me up. Okay, so I don't want that. Alright, so basically now that's basically the setup what I have. Okay, and that's just a few hints and tips on getting awesome pictures of the Perseids Meteors. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take a closer look on the mount itself, the tripod setup and all that, and show you a few hints and tips as well.
Now as I've gone through the details for the camera and the settings and equipment you need, the tripod is the most important part of this setup, and believe me, it really is. You basically want a very good sturdy tripod, enough so you don't get any vibrations. Ideally do not set the tripod on a set of paving slabs or a decking where the floor is going to be unstable. You want something on hard ground, or ideally on soft grass, something to dampen vibrations and all that. Also, when you're taking long exposures for the DSLR camera, as you're using the remote, ideally have the remote wrapped around the tripod itself, a few windings, so that when you wind it round, it's less chance of that remote from swinging back and forth. Ideally, when you want to take pictures, as you activate the remote and you leave it. You step away and leave the camera to do what it has to do. If you go near the camera, or say like you get too close to the camera and you start doing stuff whilst you're near the camera, chances are is you're causing vibrations and the vibrations will cause the camera to move around like this. Minute movements will cause your views and your images to be dancing around, and then you ruin your images. So when there's when the meteor is passing through and you're moving about, and next minute, boom, you just ruined that shot. So ideally, when you have the camera set it up, ready to go, once you're happy with what you've got, put on the bulb or the remote switch and leave it. Best settings is leave it on continuous mode, because as you click the switch and hold it there, the camera will do 30 seconds of exposure time, click, starts another 30 seconds, click, and you'll keep doing it until either your memory card will run out or your battery. More chances it's going to be the battery's going to run out. And you just leave it there. A certain point of the sky. It is a good idea that if you're looking at the sky and you see, and observe. Now the reason why I'm saying observe is look around and see, have a good estimation. You can't predict where the meteors are going to more likely to fly off. But what you've got to do is observe first, find out where most of the activity is occurring. It sounds strange at first, but when you're looking at the sky for about a good hour or so, if you start to see more activity on one particular side of the sky, then simply finish the exposure, move the camera to one side, and then once you're happy, aim across, start the exposure again and focus on another certain point in the sky. So again, what you're trying to do is you're trying to increase your chances of getting something. Now I'm not going to guarantee that you're going to get all the images in every shot. You will not get, with the 30-second exposure times, it will take certain pictures, alright, and it gradually takes certain pictures. And if you happen to capture the meteor, brilliant, because that's what you're trying to do. If you capture 2 or 3 meteors in the same field of view, then you're one of the lucky ones. And if I had a shot like that, I would definitely be well over the moon. It would be quite spectacular to have a free capture of the meteors in one picture. That it would be outstanding. But again, focus, observe the sky, have a look, find out more likely where the activity is going to be, and then determine, moving around the camera, using the wide field lens, and then just take a few shots from there. But again, I can't guarantee you, because meteors are very unpredictable. You can't tell where they're going to go. Now, a lot of the astronomy forums and a lot of the magazines suggest go to a certain point, but that just determines on where you are in the world and where you are situated. And basically, it depends on which part of the sky where most activity is. So again, using your Mark 1 eyeball, sit back on a lounge chair or deck chair and just look up and estimate. And if most of the activity is somewhere around here, if you see 3 or 4 meteors go past at a certain point, then just move the DSLR to another point of the sky, and there you go. And then start the exposures again. Just a little tip. It's my sort of method, but I'm sure there's other people who've got better methods than what I have. But again, it does give you a good chance to get some of these images. So, a little top tip. Also, the camera, as I mentioned about sturdiness, the camera needs to be stable. This is okay. It's not the best tripod in the world, because any slight movements, this camera is going everywhere. In fact, it's quite shocking for a tripod. But again, as long as I do a little minimum movements and I don't have any strong wind, unfortunately, wind can also play a big part to your images. Because if it's a very windy day and you've got a jiggly mount, the DSLR is going to jiggle and dance around, and guess what? Your image is going to be ruined. So ideally, to get a really good sturdy tripod. But there's also another method. Again, if you've got this mount, this will be a cheaper option. So I'm going to show you another method to mount your DSLR onto a tripod. Now, as I mentioned before in my last video guide, I showed you a certain mount, which is the AZ3 mount, on how to capture using this mount on a telescope to get the International Space Station. Now, if you guys remember that, I demonstrated on how to make this little hand lever mod, which is a very good little function that I created for this mount. Now, some telescopes with the AZ mount already has this pivoting handle, which is definitely what you need. However, when you're taking pictures of meteors, and obviously the Perseids Meteors especially, you want the mount to be very steady. Now, this is quite steady once you've got a bit of weight to put it onto the ground and all that. Also, as remember before, that this mount is a bit loose. You need to tighten the 19mm nut and the 17mm nut up below, just to tighten it up, because this is just set for taking the International Space Station so you can track it freely. Okay, so just make sure that just tighten up just a little bit to give a bit of friction. Okay, now as you're aware, there is a 1/4 inch thread here, which basically, if you look here on the camera, there's the thread here, and basically you can attach this camera onto this mount. Okay, you screw it on here like so, and there you go. And basically, again, find where the Perseids Meteors, where the constellations between Perseus and Cassiopeia, and you just tilt it to one side and leave it there. Now, this is a much better, much stable setup, because this has a payload. It does carry a certain amount of payload, around about 4 to 5 kilograms. So it's got quite substantial payload for this mount, and it'll dampen a lot of the vibrations and all that. And if you've got one of these mounts, I would suggest that I would use this mount than using a cheap end camera tripod that's going to which is not going to do much justice to you. So if you're the owner of these type of tripods, I should suggest that you should use this one instead of a cheap camera tripod. And that's basically what I did. I used this one instead, and it's quite stable as long as you've got no weight on there and you've got your nuts tightened up ready, because if you've done the mod, just tighten up the nuts so it's nice and stiff, and then there you go. Focus on the point. It's easier. Point and shoot. There you go. Set the exposure times, and there you go. And it's a lot more rigid. It's much better. It's much better so if you're going with these type of tripods, then definitely use this one. Right, another thing, I know it sounds stupid, but top tip, I'm not here to insult people's intelligence, but it's happened to me, and I'm sure others will agree. Make sure when you're taking pictures, make sure you take the lens cap off, because believe me, I've done the same mistake, and it happens. Alright, and just make sure you take the lens cap off. Another thing is, as I was taking the exposures and taking these awesome pictures of these meteors, always have an air blow bulb or something in hand, because you want to keep your lenses clean. Just make sure you get your blow brush, clean them, so that you're not going to get any dust or lint on the lens. Otherwise, it will show up on your images. So make sure that your camera lenses are clean for this session. Alright. Another thing is dew. Dew is the biggest problem with these cameras, because cameras, certain lenses don't have dew shields. Okay, and these dew shields will prevent the moisture from settling onto the lens. Now, if you start getting dewing up on your DSLR camera, it will affect your views, and basically you have lost time and effort, and then it means you need to cancel or sack the session. And you don't want to do that, because you could spend hours and hours on end and then realise you're taking all these pictures being ruined by dew. So make sure that in hand you have some kind of dew shield. Ideally a dew shield that will protect the lens and stop it from forming moisture. However, you can make your own. Now, don't laugh. There's a lot of people that have laughed on my postings, but believe me, I just used a cardboard cutout of a beer package, okay? And basically I slot it's held in with a bit of tape, rolled up like so, and I basically just plumbed it like that. Believe it or not, this system worked. It worked a treat, and it did actually prevent dew. So again, you can make your own. You don't need to spend a lot of money, and it will protect the camera lens from dewing up for a certain amount of time. Depending where you live, if you're in a very damp area, then the dew will form onto the lens. But however, it will help to increase long session times. So if dew does settle in there, then okay, then you're going to have to call it a day. However, I have come up with another problem. This system works to a certain amount of f-stops. So your f-stops on your camera, if you're using a wide field lens on this system doesn't work very well, and unfortunately, as I put it on the 18mm setting, it basically created a vignetting effect on my images, and I didn't really want that. I wanted a wide field view, and okay, it did work for a bit for me, and then when I saw this vignetting on my screen, it's basically, you look like you're looking for a toilet paper roll, and you can see it. You see the image, and then you'll see the outline as if, and it's not what I wanted, I'm afraid. So the system does work, but it might affect your certain camera lenses. So again, get a dew shield or something that will not going to impede your view. Because using the standard lens system, that might impede your view of your camera. So you think to yourself, well, well, what's the point of that then? It does help. It's just certain, if you set it on different exposures and different f-stops, or f-ratio I call it, it will help to reduce that. But you need to use longer f-stops, which means if you use longer f-stops, it means that you're just going to narrow the field of view. And if you narrow your field of view, just because you're a dew shield, then you're only catching a small part of the sky. So ideally you want a wide field of view so that you get more chances of capturing as much of the data the meteor is passing through. So if you widen the angle of the camera's lens and its sight, then it increases your chances. But again, the method works, but if you use longer f-stops, it only does a certain part of the stars. It only captures a certain part of the sky, and then you start getting the vignetting. Unfortunately, it was a good idea to begin with, but not so great. So as I was imaging along, and I started to get dewing up last night, and I thought to myself, oh no, this is the end of it. And I didn't get any shots whatsoever to begin with. You know, I saw a lot of meteors come passing by, and I was like, I'm not having a good day of this. Not having a good day. And then I realised, right, okay, plan B. So, came up with plan B, and basically this. Now don't laugh, for the hard looks amongst you, nick an hairdryer from your wife's the hairdryer, get yourself an hairdryer, plug it onto the mains or some kind of adapter or a long power adapter across, And basically, time after time, if your images are starting to deteriorate, or you start to shine your red torch, use red torch, shine the red torch again, leaving the camera to do its own thing. You'll ruin your shot, but that's not to worry. You shine your red torch, and if it's dewed up, nick your wife's hairdryer, plug it onto a mains, or if you're outside, if you've got mains. Luckily, this one is a dew buster. You can get these from a lot of good Astro retailers out there, particularly Tring Astronomy or River Valley Optics. And basically, this one's powered by a cigarette lighter. So basically, you can plug this onto a power tank or car battery or something of an external power source, a DC external power source. You connect it on there and then quickly switch it on and just fan it like so. Once the dew's cleared, step back, let the camera do its own thing, start the exposure, and boom. Periodically check the camera's lens, go back. You may waste a shot, but that's not to worry. Just leave it as it's doing. Again, red torch, if it's dewed up. And again, what I do is, top tip, what I'll do is I'll check every 20 to 25 minutes just to make sure that it's not dewed up. Okay, and go back and same again. Now, if I did have a wide end dew shield, it will probably have helped to increase the protection a bit more. But because I didn't have a proper dew shield for this camera lens, unfortunately, I had to go here and keep blow drying it. Alright, and just gradually do it now and again. But again, it worked, and I managed to get what I wanted. And I was absolutely over thrilled on what I've got through this setup. So I hope this video, guys, helped you. Please feel free to comment on this video, and please keep posting your great images of the Perseids Meteors. Right, we'd love to see your samples on the Astronomy for Beginners Facebook page. And again, I'm going to show my samples of my images, and I'm also going to show some of our dedicated members for Astronomy for Beginners on their samples on meteors. So please follow these hints and tips and this important advice, and I would really love to see what you've got. So again, thanks for the support of our members. We're now going to show you these awesome, absolutely, truly awesome images. So thanks again, thanks for watching, and clear skies to you all, and good luck, and get these images.